It is a truth that is mysterious in character. Here, let me share with you an experience of a friend of mine who was here tonight. And the one of whom she speaks is here tonight. I will take the one of whom she speaks next Monday. That is her story. But the one who actually had this experience said, when I gave this huge party, and this lady was the honored guest, as I went up to her, she was dressed in this lovely gown in sort of a purple robe, but they're all in folds. And she wore on her head a golden crown. And I said to her, why, that is exactly like mine. And she took off her crown and gave it to me. I said, come and see. And I took her into a dressing room. And there on the dressing table was the little figurine, not more than 4 or 6 inches tall, with the same folds in that carved onyx. It was a white onyx. But the little crown that she took off her head, that is a big crown, suddenly turned into something not bigger than a ring. And on the head of this little figurine was that identical golden crown. And it was my figurine, and it was my crown. I took off my crown and placed hers on it, and I said to her, you see, it's exactly the same crown. Now she said, I cannot tell whether I replaced her crown or my crown on it. I only know it was the identical crown. So Paul, in making the statement, does not say a crown. He uses the definite article. Henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness. There's only one crown, and all will wear it. When the Son returns from that condition imposed upon him to destroy all gods other than the God. So any belief in a God outside of your own wonderful human imagination, your own wonderful I amness, that's a false God. So David brings down all false gods. So when he goes to face the great Goliath, and Saul will put upon him all the armaments of man, he said, I cannot wear these. I'm not accustomed to these. And he goes clothed only with the Spirit of the Lord. He said, I come in the name of the God of Israel. No other garment would he wear. And then he brings down the giant and takes the giant's sword and severs his head and brings the head back. Then he stands before Saul. And here is this enormous head. And may I tell you, that is literally true in spirit. For when I saw him, and he stood before me, here before me was this enormous head of the giant, completely severed from its body. And here is my son David, leaning against the door, but an open door that led out into the most beautiful pastoral scene. And here was David, leaning against it, and the head before me. And I am looking at my son, just drinking in his beauty, and looking at the accomplished fact that my son had completed the command to do my will. And my will was to destroy all the enemies of Israel. And he brought back the head which symbolized all the false gods of the world. The day will come, you're going to have this experience. Browning, whether he actually had the experience or was inspired by the 16th chapter and the 17th chapter of the first book of Samuel. But he wrote a poem called Saul. It's the story of Saul telling, that is the story of David telling Saul about the coming of Messiah. And David stands before Saul, and he said, O Saul, a face like my face shall receive thee. A man like to me thou shalt love, and be loved by forever. A hand like this hand shall throw open the doors of new life to thee. See the Christ stand. And David is looking into the face of Saul and telling Saul, look at me and see the Christ stand. But Saul had not yet been transformed. You and I are Saul before we meet David and know he is the Christ. He is our Son. And it takes the Son to reveal us as God the Father. So the whole vast world is King Saul because he's forgotten who he is. Until that moment in time when the journey is over and David stands before us and reveals us as God the Father. So Paul is right. No other foundation can anyone lay than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. No one can say Jesus is Lord except by the Holy Spirit. And who is the Christ? The Son of the living God, the Son of the Lord. So if he is Father, then there is a Son. And if there is a Son, where is that Son? I will tell of the decree of the Lord. He said unto me, thou art my Son. Today I have begotten thee. To whom did he speak? He spoke to David. And David stands before you in the end of the journey when you have borne the burden, the allotted span. At the very end, these explosions will take place within your own wonderful skull. For the drama began in the great sepulchre, the human skull. And it will come to its climax and its fulfillment in the great sepulchre. The whole thing is within the skull of man. And this is the dream of life, and you and I are dreaming it. It is God in man dreaming the dream of life, and the Son is executing the dream. So the Son goes through hell in this world. He's put him through all the furnaces of affliction, but he always obeyed the Father's will. I have found in David a man after my own heart who will do all my will. And he is the Son of the self-existent, the living God, called in Scripture Jesse, which means Jehovah exists. And one day you're going to have it. And when it happens to you, may I tell you, so many within the sphere are happening now. It's all coming up. Like my friend who had the story of the crown. It's happened to her. The one of whom she had it, it has happened to her. Many are happening. And suddenly it will happen in many, like hatching out eggs. The hen lays eggs over a period of time. But when the period of hatching comes, they all hatch out within a matter of the same day. Yet it took her days to gather her nest together. And so she puts down a dozen or maybe 24 eggs, if she's big enough for it. And then one comes out. But don't wait for any 21 days where it took her to gather them together. No, in 24 hours, they all break and come out. Yet they were all laid at different times. So here, in this glorious story, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. And so God dies. God literally dies in becoming man. And man is his sepulchre. And he so becomes man that he actually unites with man. And man thinks that he is alone and that no one cares. And yet the one who is suffering all the time is the God in him and his Son who is doing all the work.